This is the borderland, this is no man's land. This is the place you never thought you'd be. This is the waiting room, this is the changing room, where nothing and everything is free. They use passport control to put you on hold, deciding if they'll let you through. All we do here is hope, give yourself enough rope. If they turn you back, what will you do? This is the borderland, this is no man's land. This is the place that's not marked on your map. This is the waiting room, this is the changing room. From here, the signposts are blank. And those who've been here before, who might know the score, never told you what to expect. You should have been wise and checked in their eyes. Standing here feels a bit like death. This is the borderland, this is no man's land. This is the place where they change the rules. This is the waiting room, this is the changing room, where wise folk all turn into fools. Did you really think you could just waltz on through with nothing to show where you've been? There are scars left behind on your heart and your mind to show a journey in search of a dream. This is the borderlands, this is no man's land. This is the place where they check how you feel. This is the waiting room, this is the changing room, where nothing and everything is real. And now you feel stuck, you've run out of luck. The daydream seems so far away. You can't turn around, your world's upside down, and all you can do right now is stay. This is the borderland, this is no man's land, and you've got to get through here somehow. This is the waiting room, this is the changing room, and they're handing you your documents now.
Oh, I long for peace amongst the peoples and the nations. How I long to halt the plunder of the wonders of creation. Oh, how I long for peace. I cannot understand how the sisters, wives and mothers cannot halt the slaughter of their husbands, sons and brothers. Oh, how I long for peace amongst the peoples and the nations. How I long to halt the plunder of the wonders of creation. Oh, how I long for peace. How I long for peace. Sorry.
There never will be.
There never will be peace until men abandon fighting as the way of solving problems that prevent us from uniting. Oh, how I long for peace amongst the peoples and the nations. How I long to halt the plunder of the wonders of creation. Oh, how I long for peace. The profits made by war, there are few who can resist them. Hypocrisy and greed control the lifeblood of our system. Oh, how I long for peace amongst the peoples and the nations. How I long to halt the plunder of the wonders of creation. Oh, how I long for peace. The earth can wait no longer for political permission. Sit down, disrupt, do anything to make the whole world listen. Oh, how I long for peace amongst the people and the nations. How I long to halt the plunder of the wonders of creation. Oh, how I long for peace. Oh, how we long for peace.
Anne said to me, can I go for like a 70s disco vibe? At first I was afraid. I was petrified. I just thought I should start with a joke. What's happening behind me anyway? So yeah, look, this is, I don't know how to follow those two songs, so I'm going to do you this one. This is, by the way, I don't know if you heard that thing today. Apparently Mickey Mouse has now got a Boris Johnson watch. Did you hear that? Your bit goes, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. It's all falling apart around me. I'm beginning to wonder whether I'll be able to put it back together. And your bit goes, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. Oh, it's all falling apart around me. Oh, it's all falling apart. I wasn't expecting that. It's all falling apart. I don't know quite what to do now. It's all falling apart. Thank goodness some people are smiling and laughing around me. I'm beginning to wonder whether I'll be able to put it back together. Because it's all falling apart. Did you notice the guitar break? Around me. Yeah, I'm kind of the I think I'm the light relief. I'm the comic interlude. I was trying to think of something because there's people all looking at the names. There's people from all over the world, and I was trying to think of something something that was truly international. And driving on, I've come to a mate's studio to do this. Driving to the studio, I passed a Subway, And I don't mean like an underground, I mean like the sandwich shop. And I thought, Subways, they've got them everywhere. I've seen them in America and Australia and Ireland, so everywhere's probably got a Subway. So this next song is dedicated to the choc chunk cookies that you get in Subway. Oh, they're the same all over the world. I'm addicted to those choc chunk cookies because they taste exactly, and I do mean exactly, they taste exactly like the cookies my granny used to bake when she worked at Subway. that was a joke. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this because I haven't had a chance to do this since Valentine's Day about a week ago. I got an envelope through the door, and it said on the envelope, "This is not a Valentine's card." And I've never had a not a Valentine's card before. So when I opened it, this is what it said on my not Valentine's card. "You're a lazy, good for nothing wastrel who'll never amount to anything and seem to think that just because you're pretty good on guitar, you can swan around writing your pathetic little songs, telling your pathetic little stories every chance you get, like some sad, worthless, stage-struck little kid. One of these days, you're going to have to try to understand that reality is what's actually happening." And I think I know who it was from, so I immediately got straight back to them and I said to them, "Do you really think I'm pretty good on guitar?" So here, this is a request. This is a song that 3 people have told me I've got to do tonight. So I wasn't planning on doing it because it's a bit serious for me, but it's short and it's opposite, and I think you'll kind of get why I'm singing it. I really wanted to do, especially after it was great that Anne said that Ukraine kind of means no borders, and beyond the border. Borders are helping us do it, which is this is and I desperately wanted to do a story because I do storytelling as well, but I thought the only story I'm going to have time for is the shortest one I ever wrote, which is a story called this is it, I'll do it quickly. Noah's First Night on the Ark. That's the shortest story I've written so far. It's great to be part of this. Well done everyone for watching and joining in, and it's just fantastic to not feel so useless. So said a prayer last night, prayed that you and I, said a prayer last night. First time I've prayed since I was a child, beside the bed. My prayer wasn't long, a few lines from later in this song was all it said. Didn't pray for world peace, didn't pray to feed the poor or heal the lame. I just prayed that you'd come back to me and feel the same. Said a prayer for you, prayed that you and I might yet still pray we do. Didn't pray for world peace, didn't pray to feed the poor or heal the lame. I just prayed that you'd come back to me. Now I feel ashamed. I just prayed that you'd come back to me. I just prayed that you'd come back to me. I just prayed that you'd come back to me. And you came. Said a prayer last night.
How do we get to follow him, eh?
I know.
Just, yeah.
Well, if we can stop you laughing along enough,
Yeah,
we'll do something.
And you told both of my jokes. Well, there will be mine on Tuesday at our local folk club.
Right, we do mostly our own material. Starting with one of mine, we thought we'd do something a bit upbeat because we thought it might be a good idea. So this is nothing to do with war. Hopefully it's to do with things we all do together. At this cold time of the year,
Take a little drop to keep the winter out.
We know the way to bring some cheer.
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Be it brandy, wine or stout.
Take a little drop to keep the winter out.
Have a drop before we go out.
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Give us ale that's new or wine that's old. Tart of rum to keep out the cold. We all know what we're about, and we'll take a little drop to keep the winter out. Ploughboy, he takes ale and porter,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
Farmer has a whiskey with a little water,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Granny, she's been at the sherry,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter
winter
out.
out. We all know what keeps her merry,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Give us ale that's new or wine that's old. Tart of rum to keep out the cold. We all know what we're about, and we take a little drop to keep the winter out. Bishop, he takes port and brandy,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
Even the parson has a half of shandy,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Father Ryan thinks that we don't see,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
He puts whiskey in his tea,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Give us ale that's new or wine that's old. Tart of rum to keep out the cold. We all know what we're about, and we'll take a little drop to keep the winter out. The lady sips at her champagne,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
Her maid she makes do with pomain,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Party people like fine wine,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
Me, I reckon cider's fine,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
Give us ale that's new or wine that's old. Tart of rum to keep out the cold. We all know what we're about, and we take a little drop to keep the winter out. Whenever people are together,
Takes a little drop to keep the winter
winter
out.
out.
We know the way to beat the weather,
Just a little drop to keep the winter out.
So pour a pint straight from the cask.
Takes a little drop to keep the winter out.
Or pass around that old hip flask.
Just a little drop to keep the winter out. Give us ale that's new or wine that's old. Tot of rum to keep out the cold. We all know what we're about, and we'll take a little drop to keep the winter out. Yeah. Right, this is what I wrote. It's about the final battle between good and evil, and I just hope we ain't come to it. That man, that wizard, that mage, treads the dawn neath the storm's angry maw. He knows that tomorrow and every tomorrow rides on this day's bitter war. The Dark Lord has gathered his side. The friends of the light are as one. Except for the unicorns, they will not stand. For the Dark Lord has captured their queen. They chafe and they skitter, know not what to do. They know they must fight, but their queen is in peril. They sigh and they cry and they weave to and fro. In deepest despair they shake to their souls. The council is called of the wise. The queen must be saved at all costs. For without her the unicorns stand from the fight. And without them the fight will be lost. The battle it rages, the night is on fire. Wizard and warlock fight hand to hand, and any man there unafraid is a liar. But every among them takes bravely his stand. The wizard falls into dead sleep. His wand and his staff hang limp in his hand, but he still plays a part in the battle so hard that rages all over the land. He dreams of a rider so fair, with eyes of pure crystal blue, who rescues the queen from the dark demon's lair. But dream is it or vision true? He wakes with the sunrise that bids the new day. His heart leaps with joy at the scene. For the orcs are defeated, the light shines on high. And unicorns dance round their queen.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm so glad to be here today. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much to Anne and everybody else who was involved in organizing. All right, can you hear me all right? So before I start, I was sitting this week just feeling, as I'm sure we all do, just despairing about the Ukrainian situation and feeling glad I was invited to be part of this, to do some small thing. You may not know I'm also a painter, and so this week I painted this for this concert, and I'm auctioning it. And the entire proceeds of the auction are going to go to this fundraiser. So normally this would sell for $4.10 Canadian, which is, almost nothing in pounds or American dollars. But we're going to start the auction at $300 Canadian. And the way you can bid is by sending an email to dragonwing@shaw.ca. And I'll put that in the chat, dragonwing.shaw.ca. Or you can go to my website, eileenmcgann.com, and write in /sunflower.html, and that'll bring you to it. And I'll put all that in the chat. So it's a 10 by 10 acrylic on canvas, ready to go on your wall, and it will be mailed to the winner. The auction will be up for a week, and I'll post who wins it and where it goes to. This song was written around the time of the Second Gulf War, but a lot of it is still very applicable to this situation, especially since so much of this war seems to be a war of propaganda, and how we find the truth and where we look and where we choose to look. This is called How Many Wars? Take a field of ignorance, plant it full of fear, water it with semi-truths, and watch hate grow from year to year. Watch it spread from field to field by seed and hidden root. And then we gaze so sad amazed to harvest bitter fruit. How many wars? Based on how many lies, how many times can we justify our tightly closed eyes and turn away again until the soul of us dies? How many turns, how many wars, how many lies? Know that Christ was not a CEO who never drilled for royal boys and never killed for gain. A convict's death, a humble birth, a carpenter of no net worth. Do you think they'd listen for a minute if he came again? How many wars? Based on how many lies, how many times can we justify our tightly closed eyes and turn away again until the soul of us dies? How many turns, how many wars, how many lies? I do believe they do not name the price we pay to play this game. Not imaginary money for another nation's child, but every innocent that's lost exacts a universal cost. With every soul diminished, every blade of grass defiled. How many wars? Based on how many lies, how many times can we justify our tightly closed eyes and turn away again until the soul of us dies? How many turns, how many wars, how many lies? Find a heart with openness, plant a seed of peace, water it with wisdom and then listen for the sweet release. If one by one we shift the field in which our leaders stand, perhaps someday we'll find a many turns, how many wars, how many lies, how many wars based on how many lies, how many times can we justify our tightly closed eyes and turn away again until the soul of us dies? How many turns, how many wars, how many lies, how many turns, how many wars, how many lies?
Very good.
Thank you. If there's one thing the world needs right now to resolve this, it's wisdom. This song is called Wisdom Guide Me. It's got chorus parts, so if all of you back there in your own homes, I wish we were all together, but if all of you in your own homes could just sing along. Second and fourth lines are repeating, and then there's a chorusy bit. Second line is wisdom, guide me through my fear. And the fourth line of every verse is wisdom, be my guide. So I can see your mouths moving anyway, so please join in. On the road to freedom, there's a blackbird singing. Wisdom, guide me through my fear. It's a song of joy, sets my heart all ringing. So wisdom, be my guide. When the map is lost and the road's confusing, wisdom, guide me through my fear. When the path's divided and there's no clear choosing, then wisdom, be my guide. You know, a time of trouble is a time of turning. Wisdom, guide me through my fear. It's a sharp, hard focus on your deepest yearning. So wisdom, be my guide. Ah, blackbird fly, seeing far, seeing wide. Wow, lift me high, and wisdom, be my guide. When the day is dark and the storm clouds looming, wisdom, guide me through my fear. When the lightning's flashing and the thunder's booming, then wisdom, be my guide. Remember, every heart has a silver lining. Wisdom, guide me through my fear. It knows beyond the storm there's a bright joy shining. So wisdom, be my guide. Ah, blackbird fly, seeing far, seeing wide. Wow, lift me high, and wisdom, be my guide. On the road to freedom, there's a blackbird singing. Wisdom, guide me through my fear. It's a song of joy, sets my heart all ringing. So wisdom, be my guide. Ah, blackbird fly, seeing far, seeing wide. Wow, lift me high, and wisdom, be my guide.
young soldiers going? Why are those tanks rolling west? Our soldiers are going to Budapest, defending our mother in Budapest. Our soldiers are going to Budapest, where they will be welcomed as heroes. What will they find when they get there? Our brothers and lovers and fathers and sons. What they will find when they get there is our tanks are as welcome as smallpox. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs over this newly dug grave. Where are our young soldiers going? Why are those tanks rolling east? Our soldiers are going to Afghanistan, defending our mother in Afghanistan. Our soldiers are going to Afghanistan, where they will be welcomed as heroes. What do they find when they get there? Our brothers and lovers and fathers and sons. What they will find when they get there is our tanks are as welcome as smallpox. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs over this newly dug grave. Where are our young soldiers going? Why are those tanks rolling west? Our soldiers are going to Kiev and Kharkov, defending our mother in Kiev and Kharkov. Our soldiers are going to Kiev and Kharkov, where they will be welcomed. What do they find when they get there? Our lovely brothers and lovers, fathers and sons. What they will find when they get there is our tanks are as welcome as smallpox. La 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 la, but we sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs. La 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 la, let's sing the old songs over this newly dug grave. Over these newly dug graves.
A song, we've lost a lot of great people in the last couple of years, and most recently here in the United States we lost one of our favorite songwriters, Bill Staines, and this is one of my favorite of Bill's songs. He wrote many great songs, and it's one that you probably know, so if you know it wherever you are, I hope you'll sing along. Each of the second stanzas repeats, so you'll get the hang of it. This is called Bridges. Bridges in the sky, they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire, and they can change two things to one. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they are better than a wall. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they are better than a wall. There are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, and they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they are oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they are oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music, let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. And if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Let's dance. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish off my set by singing a song that I wrote. And as Eileen said earlier, it would be wonderful to hear you all singing on the chorus. I'm so happy to see so many people from not only over here in my time zone, but right in my town. There's a great amount of people right from my area, right around my neighborhood. So thank you all so much for coming. And they all know this song, and we sung it together. So watch their lips. It has a recurring, it's a zipper song, and it has a recurring response line in the verses, which you can sing along on. And then there's a little bit of a chorus. And I know with so many great singers, you'll just catch on right away. The response lines go like this. Let justice roll down, roll down. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. You want to try that? Let justice roll down, roll down. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. There is no freedom, the wise man said. Let justice roll down when the poor cry out for shelter and bread. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in that dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Now we're gonna let a little love roll down. Hatred will never drive out hate. Let love roll down, roll down. Remember our hearts will make us great. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in that dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let love roll down like a mighty roll down. When brutality threatens our daughters and sons, let peace roll down. Roll down, may our voices ring out above the guns. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in that dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. We're gonna let some songs roll down now, just like we're doing today. When fists rise up to strike a blow, let songs roll down, roll down. May the poets remind us of what we know. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in that dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Step by step, one by one, let justice roll down. Roll down, they can kill the prophets, but the dream lives on. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in that dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down, let it roll. Let justice roll down, let it roll. Let justice roll down, let it roll. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream.
Once there was a man and woman, husband and wife, lying in bed. They were lying together. He was spooning in and cuddling her and loving her and putting his chin on her shoulder and caressing her, and she was closed. She was shut and turned away from her man. On her 3 fingers here, she put silent kisses. I love you. And blew these kisses into the air, and the 3 kisses went up and up and up and travelled away from the house, away from indeed that country, away across the sea and another continent. There were 2 in the bed, but there are many marriages where there are 3 involved, and this was such a marriage. And she blew these kisses there, away, far away, far away. And the kisses could rise no higher than the mountains, and they started to fragment. And as the kisses fragmented, she hoped and she prayed that these would land on her love, a soldier fighting a war in a far and distant land. She didn't have a lot of money. She didn't have a glamorous job. She wasn't very, she was a regular person, and regular people have to economize. And she was trying to save up some presents to send to her soldier. And she had a shoebox in a wardrobe. Aileen, that's called a closet in the far and distant lands from me. In this wardrobe up there, there was a shoebox, and in there she put a little bar of soap, some chewing gum, some chocolate, some just treats, some razors for his safety razor, some blades. And when she didn't have enough money to buy a little gift, she went to the post office And she bought the smallest units of postage stamps that she could, maybe the size of a thumb or a pinky nail, just almost insignificant, but they'll be important, for she has to defray the cost of postage. Whatever she bought, be it a trophy, like a big bar of chocolate, or a tiny postage stamp, she put in the box, closed the lid, put it up there, and covered it with pillows and spare bedding. She worked in a shop as a shop assistant, and every moment she thought about her love. All half a world away, across the land of her birth, across the ocean, across the other continent, across and across. And him, he never gave her a second thought. Not once. Yeah, probably not once did he give her a second thought, but he thought, and his principal thought was in staying alive. Because of his physiognomy, the very shape of his body, the colour of his eyes, the colour of his hair, the paleness of his skin, he couldn't go out of the camp. None of them, his fellow soldiers, they couldn't go out of the camp. And the commandant, who was a wise man and a loving man, well, he wanted his boys to be happy. So some girls were brought in, and these women were the kind of women who have always followed soldiers, for where there's soldiers, there's money. And these girls would dance and do way more than dance for these soldiers. Back home, she lifted the box down to have a look at these comic books and chocolate boxes and a little mouth organ, and she saw this stuff and she thought, that's heavy enough. So she wrapped it up with brown paper and string and lots of thick tape, and she put every single postage stamp that she had previously purchased. And it was like wallpapering this box with kisses. I love you. 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 And she put these onto the parcel, and she took the parcel to the post office. It was at lunchtime. And wherever you are, in Santa Cruz or in Glasgow, there is always a queue at the post office, a big, long line of people that's sometimes sneaky and sometimes deadly straight. But it's always, oh. So she waited and came closer and closer and closer. And then the parcel was weighed on the assay scale, and an amount of money was said, and it was given over. She looked at the address. Now, it had been difficult for her to write the address. She had to write the address starting with the commanding officer's name of the whole battalion. And he had 14 different letters in that surname. Who needs so many letters in a surname? And she was not educated. She drew rather than wrote the address, the commanding officer, the unit number, and everything was meticulously copied from her notebook onto the parcel. The postmistress didn't give a damn. She stamped very casually on that box and threw it onto a conveyor belt, and it moved away slowly, steadily. And the woman danced, as I was dancing earlier. She danced and danced and danced and went back to work. And far across the distant in that distant land. The dancing girls had gone back home, and the soldiers were out. The patrol was routine, mundane even, mundane, yeah, let's say mundane. It was banal, it was boring, and it was a complete surprise to the two boys in that vehicle when it turned up side down as a topsy-turvy in an enormous explosion. His companion's head was burst open into two pieces, and brains were everywhere, dead. The soldier was also dead, but unmarked, beautiful, serene. Oh, he was perfect in death. That night, when she was lying in bed and her husband was canoodling and snuggling in, she put these kisses there. I love you. And she blew these kisses up into the air, but they fell back and slapped her mouth. They fell back and slapped her mouth. They fell back and slapped her mouth. And she said, something's wrong. And lying there in the bed, the man said, let me in. Let you in? Is that what you think about? Something's wrong. I know it. You can't understand, she said to her husband. Mothers know you're not his father. And the man was angry at this. He said, not his father. I know I'm not his father. He was 3 years old when you brought him to the marriage. Am I his father? No, but I'm his dad. I put a hat on his head in the winter. I put food in his belly every day. I put boots on his feet. And boy, did those feet grow. I bought a lot of shoes for that boy. Am I his father? No, but I am his dad. Let me in. But she was lost. For mothers know. Mothers know. The commandant who loved the boys, even in death, would not have them out there, lying in that capsized vehicle. And a rescue team were sent out to recover the vehicle and the two corpses. And they were put into the coffins. The coffins were draped in the flag. And it was on TV. And she got a letter from the Prime Minister thanking her for her son's sacrifice. Thanking her. And she didn't understand why he had died, why his father had died, why his grandfather had died, fighting other people's wars. A long time passed. The funeral was over. The recovery process had really not yet kicked in, but she had to get on with life. And she got a little card telling her to go to the post office. And she went to the post office. But she hadn't ordered anything. There was nothing for her to collect. She didn't understand what it could be. And then she saw the clerk at the post office coming back with a shoebox wrapped in brown paper, festooned with postage stamps. And someone had scrawled just near the address, return to sender.
I'm going to do two songs back to back. First one is an Irish keen, and An Irish keen is a lament, and it's a lament on the loss or the death of someone or something. And this one is about 70 years old. It was recorded by Kitty Gallagher in Donegal, and it's the lament for a child. And then I'm going to go straight from that into a song that I wrote myself in the 90s called Bring the Peace, which was based on the context, if you like, of Northern Ireland, where I was raised and brought up and where I live at the minute. And it was a kind of felt like a vain hope at the time that a peace would come, but 8 years later it did, and it's holding. And so that was my wish at that time. And I was really, delighted to see what happened in 1998 about that. First of all, though, this is Gaelic. It's the Keen for the Dead Child. Agus alanu Kuryani me Tatu erhuluam Agus anari Agus melam hein Níl dinner biagam Dameagamak as is melam hein Saru Agus achachacham Gan Is it true that you've come back? Is it true that you're here? Is it true after all this time? The cycle's complete. And have you brought the wisdom that we had then lost? Have you brought the peace that we're all aching for? Is it true you've been waiting for your chance to come? Is it true that you're coming now, like song on the wind? And have you brought the wisdom that we lost when found? Or have you brought the peace that's bound for our wounds? Is it true you knew the answers when you were last here? There was no one in this land who could like your wisdom, we were forced to let go of bring us back to peace, to feed our hungry souls. Is it true that you've come back? Is it true that you're here? Is it true after all this time the cycle's complete? And have you brought the wisdom that we lost when found? Or have you brought the peace that's bound for our wounds? Can you bring the peace that we're all aching for? Oh, have you brought the peace that we've been aching for? Oh, can you bring the peace?
Thanks, Mary. In your fine coat and shoes, there was no detection of the immigrant child, of the immigrant child, till you walked into town and you caught your reflection. Saw the immigrant child, oh, the immigrant child. You saw in the window the fear in your eyes. You never know when fate might take you by surprise. Oh, my immigrant child. Were you carried for days? Was it hard? Was it kind? My immigrant child, oh, my immigrant child. Till you walked into town and you caught your reflection. So the immigrant child, oh, the immigrant child. You rise in the morning, in the mirror you find the face of a loved one you once left behind. Was the immigrant child. Whether black, brown or white, it won't cover the truth. By the immigrant child, oh, the immigrant child. The old man, the young girl, the mother, the youth. It's the immigrant child, oh, the immigrant child. Wandering for dignity, safety and food, shelter from anger and the rivers of blood. Oh, my immigrant child. The ignorant and rich may condemn where you go. Oh, my immigrant child, oh, my immigrant child. They cover their tracks, they think we won't know you were an immigrant child, oh, an immigrant child. They stepped on the road and they crossed the wide seas into the unknown, except you and me, immigrant child. The ancestors speak and they live in your mind. Oh, my immigrant child, oh, my immigrant child. Down generations to this very time. My immigrant child, my immigrant child. It's there in your blood and it won't go away. The history, the voyage in your DNA. The immigrant child. Wherever you are, 'tis the traveller's rest. Oh, my immigrant child, oh, my immigrant child. There's always a north, a south, east, and west for the immigrant child, oh, the immigrant child. We're on the same journey, we reach the same end. Have a place in your heart for a wayfaring friend. It's the immigrant child. I'm always quite keen on learning songs in other languages, and they always have a sort of interesting Leicester dialect to them. So here's the Ukrainian national anthem. Please join in with gusto, everybody. Ще немеле Україні ні слава, ні воля, ще на браття Українці uśmiechnięcie doje. Zigną nasi wory ziemki, jak roza na rąsi. Zawi moimi bracia u swojej storonci. Duшу i tilo mi položim za našu svobodu i pokažem, že mi braća kozačkog rodu. Ще немеле Україні ні слава, ні воля, ще на браття українці uśmiechnięcie doje. Zigną nasi wory ziemki, jak roza na słońcu. Zabi moimi bracia u swojej storonci. Dazu i tilo mi položim za našu svobodu i pokažem, že mi braća kozačkog rodu.
My grandmother's homeland of Ingushetia, in the mountains of Caucasus, in the south of Russia, a place of breathtaking beauty and harrowing history. And part of this harrowing history is the deportation of the Ingush and Chechen people on the order of Joseph Stalin in 1944. My grandmother was only 11 when she was thrown out of her home with her family, while most of their men were fighting in the Soviet army and giving their lives, and yet they were all accused of collaboration with the Nazis and named enemies of the people. And they lost overnight, they lost their homeland, they lost their language, they lost their identity, they lost their freedom, and they were deported like cattle to the wastelands of northern Kazakhstan. This is why Ingushetia is my grandmother's long-lost home, her never-healing wound. And this is the story of her family, her nation, a true life tale The Moon and the Pilot. The moon is my grandmother's mother, the famous beauty with snow-white skin framed by the blackness of her hair, and the pilot was her war hero father, who gave his life delivering supplies to the besieged city of Leningrad. And this is the story, and the story of their nation, and a story of love and sacrifice, and the greatest resilience, and the amazing human spirit and love that will always win, because there's nothing in this world that matters more than love. Gosh, I'm not even sure I'll be able to get through the song. The moon and the pilot, a match made in heaven. She hoped and waited that he'll be back soon. The bravest man for the fairest maiden, for he was the pilot, and she was the moon. Shine, my moon, your face made of light. Let down your hair, black is the night. Strangers in uniform came to the village. The men who could fight were away at the wall. By order of Stalin, the children and women were shoved into rail cars and home was no more. Shine, my moon, your face made of light. Let down your hair, black is the night. The pilot's wife hid all her jewels, exchanged them in exile for food and for fun. In the darkest of nights, she guided her children like the moon shining through deportation and war. Oh, shine, my moon, your face made of light. Let down your hair, black is the night. She awaited in vain the return of her pilot, gave herself to her children, gave them hope, gave them life. The fairest woman, the bravest mother, she was simply the moon. And the pilot's wife, shine, my moon, your face made of light. Let down your hair, black is the night. See моя луна, моя луна, косы чернее ночи, чашу испей до дна. Moon and the Pilot, Диба Кошева, Rashidbek Ahriyev. And this is my grandmother, Fatima Ahriyeva. Beautiful. And to quickly finish, very quick song, a song from Ukraine that has a familiar tune, a song called Щедрик or Щедрий вечер, which means plentiful evening or generous evening. And indeed, this has been an evening of such generosity of spirit that it's only appropriate to sing this song. And again, my heart goes out to all the innocents who are suffering as this completely, well, unnecessary, completely senseless, completely pointless war. And thank you all so much for being here. And yes, so this one is for all of you as a thanks for your generosity. Щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівочка, стала собі щебетаті, господаря викликаті. Вийди, вийди, господарю, подивися на кошару. Там овечки покоцелись, и ягнячки народились. Тебе товар весь хороший, будешь мати мирку грошей. Тебе товар весь хороший, будешь мати мирку грошей. Ось не грошей, то полова, тебе жінка чорноброва. Щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівочка. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm a storyteller, and my story is from turbulent times when the farmer was out in his field and he smelled smoke, and looking, he saw that the raiders had come from the sea. The shepherd's croft was on fire, and old as he was, he did his best to run. By the time he got there, the shepherd's croft was razed to the ground. The sheep that they could not take with them, the raiders had killed, and they had left the shepherd for dead. The farmer nursed him, and as he began to recover, the shepherd said, "You should have let me die. Without my livestock, I have no livelihood." And the farmer said, "I'm getting old. I need help. Come work with me. There'll be enough for both of us." And that's what they did. And each man was so grateful to the other. And they got on well. They got on well until the day the gold was found. The shepherd was ploughing, the plough hit something, and when he looked, there was a clay jar cracked, and through the crack he could see the gleam of gold. He took it back to the farm, and together the farmer and the shepherd poured out the gold pieces, the 15 gold pieces in that clay jar. And the farmer said, "You are so lucky. What will you do with this?" The shepherd said, "I'll do nothing with it because it's not mine, it's yours." The shepherd said, "You found it." Sorry, the farmer said, "You found it." The shepherd said, "But on your land." And for the first time, those men were disagreeing. And at that point, there was a head wound that had bled onto his smelling of smoke, exhausted, asking for water to drink. And the shepherd said, "You need more than water." The farmer went to fetch water from that well that never ran dry. The shepherd bathed the wound and prepared food. And when they'd eaten together, The young man said the raiders had come to his village. He had been struck senseless. When he woke, the village had been burned to the ground and he could find no survivors. And so he had just turned and walked. And now, exhausted, needing water, he'd knocked on their door. And then he looked from one to the other and he said, but I nearly didn't knock because I thought I heard angry voices. And the shepherd and the farmer looked at each other and they said, well, actually you did. And they told him why. And they asked his opinion. He said, share it down the middle. And in unison, the farmer and the shepherd said, no, because it's his. And the young man said, if you really won't take it, it came from the earth, give it back to the earth. The farmer said, what, just bury it again? The young man said, no. As I walked along that road, I longed for shade to sit in. I longed to quench my thirst. Why don't you buy saplings with it? Plant trees to give shade, to give fruit to those who need it. And the two men said, will you go and buy saplings for us? That is a wonderful idea. And so the next morning, the young man took the money and he set off because it was 3 days to the city. And as he came to the city, he's walking to the gate of the city and he heard birdsong. But it was unlike any birdsong he'd ever heard. It was like a song of joy, and he turned and he saw a pack horse led by a merchant. And that pack horse had 2 great crates on its back, stuffed with birds. Their feathers were iridescent, shot with gold. And without thinking what he was doing, the young man went, he grabbed that bridle and he said to the merchant, get those birds out of there before they die. And the merchant said, what does it matter if they do? They're soon going to be on the king's table. The man said, you can't do that. Look, I'll give you 6 gold coins for them. The merchant said, I'll get twice as much as that from the king. And the young man said, I'll give you 12 gold coins. And the merchant said, no, I really want the king to know I can get merchandise like this. And the young man said, I'll give you 15 gold coins. And the merchant took them, and the young man went and he tore one of the cages over and he began lifting the birds out. And a young lad ran and he was doing the same on the other side. And as the young man took out the last bird, the lad saw the man's face fall and he said, what's wrong? And the young man said, that money wasn't mine to spend. And the lad said, but you have done a good thing. And so the young man turned around and began walking back to the farm. And quietly behind him, getting louder, he heard the sound of birdsong, a song of joy, and he turned and the sky was full of birds with iridescent feathers shot with gold following him. And that night they roosted in the trees where he lay. And the next day they flew with him and he began talking to them. And on the 3rd day, as he saw the farm, he said, there, that's where we're going. And at that moment, all the birds veered and flew in a different direction. And he arrived at the farm with nothing but the story. But the farmer, the shepherd listened and they said, you did a good thing. And we've started to irrigate that land. We've started to dig it, ready for the trees, but perhaps you'll have another idea. We'll have a look at it tomorrow. And they were out looking at the land the next morning when they heard a swishing of wings, and they turned and the sky was full of birds with iridescent feathers shot with gold, and they were not singing, for in their beaks they were carrying saplings. and they dropped those saplings and the men ran to plant them. And as soon as they were in the ground, they began to grow. So that night, the birds were able to roost in them. And by the next morning, travellers could sit in their shade and quench their thirst with the fruit. And news of that place spread so that people who needed it searched for it, found it, and some stayed a short time, some stayed longer, and some never left. Thank you.
Am I Evan? Oh, thanks very much. Some of us got smiley faces, some of us got sad sighs, some of us got warm embraces, some of us just fantasize. Some of us got double trouble, some of us got cares and woes, some of us got money in the bank, some of us don't know where it goes. Some of us got twinkling eye, some of us got a wicked frown, some of us know truth from lies, some of us don't know up from down, some of us laugh and some of us cry, some of us do both. We've all got different faces, but we've all got something in common underneath. Some of us got a sense of passion, some of us got a thick hide, some of us never learn our lessons, some of us swim against the tide. Some of us got crazy notions, some of us don't fit the mold, some of us like crossing oceans, some stand still and just grow old. Some of us got a sense of mission, some of us got that kind, some of us got a drown out mission, some of us travel blind. Some of us act before we think, some don't act at all. We've all got different faces, but we've all got something in common underneath. Some of us got music playing, some of us got a metric mind, some of us be the one that's paying, some just take what's left behind. Some of us got natural rhythm, some of us got two left feet, some of us take whatever you give them, some want fruit and some want meat. Some of us got a sense of color, some of us see black and white, some of us love to love each other, some of us just love to fight, some of us shout, some of us whisper, some just write on walls. We all got different faces, but we've all got something in common underneath. We may be talking about a different face, but we're all members of the human race. Deep down inside, we're all exactly the same. A man is still a man by any other name. Some of us got greedy fingers, some of us give all, give all. Some of us got a hope that lingers, some of us climb and some of us fall. Some of us got perfect harmony, some of us got a heart that pines, some of us got natural harmony, some of us got a heart that shines. Some of us got pride and hunger, some of us got weight to spare, some of us got seething anger, some of us just don't care. Some of us run and some stand still, some just spin around and around and around and around and around and around and around. Well, we've all got different faces, but we've all got something in common underneath. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Hello, world. It's lovely to be a member of this little community tonight, so I'm really enjoying it. That was an old song. This is quite a new song. Need some water. This is a song inspired by the selfie taken by Voyager as she drifted somewhere past Mars and looked back at home, which appeared as a tiny, tiny blue speck. live on a tiny blue speck at the edge of a universe, dreaming my dreams in my insignificant world.
I mean, you're right, Syria is Syrians killing Syrians.
Yeah, I mean, there is.
Communicate with me. Oh, right. I'll start again. I live on a tiny blue speck at the edge of a universe, dreaming my dreams in my insignificant world. I'm king of a small piece of land that I think I own. I do what I can to be a good man, but I'm accident prone. I'm one in a number, the species that constantly multiplies, sharing our limited space with increasing unease. We endlessly squabble over things that we call our rights. Misguided fools to think that our rules are important enough for these fights. We are dust drifting in time. We're just something that happened somewhere along the line. We arrive and then disappear on our small speck of blue, just passing through. Blink, you wouldn't know we ever were here. It's a wonderful dream to gaze at the stars in the galaxy. Billion twinkling lights filling the sky, spinning and swimming, giant celestial glitter ball, dancing in space, a whirligig race, heading nowhere at all. We are dust drifting in time. We are something that happened somewhere along the line. We arrive and then just disappear on our small speck of blue, just passing through. Blink and you wouldn't know if we ever were here. Blink and you wouldn't know if we ever were here. Blink, you wouldn't know if we ever were here. We are dust drifting in time. We are dust drifting in time. We are dust drifting in time. We are dust drifting in time.
This evening, I have a story for you, which I'm retelling, and it is from the Ukraine, and I thought it was appropriate. For it wasn't in my time and it wasn't in your time, but it was in the time when trees grew so tall that the tops bathed in the light of the stars, and rivers were so plentiful that fishes jumped from one to another, one stream to another stream, just for fun, and when animals were at peace. Well, it was on such a time that each morning the sun would rise and he would allow his daughters to drop down gently onto the earth, and they'd splash in the cool streams, and they would stroll through the forest, and they would run and they'd laugh among millions of different flowers which were to be found. For on each hill and each valley, each piece of land was a different flower that blossomed and filled the air with its fragrance. And at the end of each day, when the son was readying his carriage to return back home, his daughters, all rosy-cheeked and their arms filled with flowers, would return from their earthly jaunts, and they'd join him on their journey home. It was the way it had always been. But one day, the son's youngest daughter remembered, just as they were about to leave, that she'd forgotten that the special wreath of flowers that she had woven for her father. Oh, but I worked on it so hard, she pleaded. It was a gift, a special gift that I've made for you. Please, I'll only be a few minutes. Please, please let me fetch it. How could the son be so upset with his youngest daughter, who he loved dearly? Very well, he said, but be quick, be very quick. So the youngest daughter dropped like a shooting star onto the earth and ran to the place where she had left the flowery wreath. But it wasn't there. It had gone, it wasn't there. But in its place, leaning against a birch tree, a blade of grass in the corner of his mouth, was a fine young man, a flower crown dangling from his long, thin fingers as he smiled at her. "Is this what you're looking for?" he asked. "Come and fetch it then," he called. As she reached out for it, he lifted it from her and began to step backwards, waving it above her head. And as she came towards him, he turned and ran across the hill. Well, all she could ever remember was the laughter in his eyes when he turned towards her, making her forget what it was that she had returned to earth for, making forget about her sisters and her father, the sun. And when the young man began to speak, she thought his voice was like the song of the first morning bird, soft and sweet and promising, but only for her ears. And the more he spoke, the more enthralled she was. How had she ever lived her life without the knowledge of such a beautiful voice? How was she so ever happy before she had met him? She basked in his presence, drinking in the words as he leant forward and he kissed her. He promised to love her, only her, all his life. And the daughter of the sun believed him. She agreed to live on earth, where nightingales sing and where cherry trees blossom and where spring dances over the fields and where there is love, where there is true love, his love. Of course, the son called his daughter home, ordered her back, implored her to return, but how angry he became. How could her father not understand how difficult it would be to live anywhere but on earth now? And she turned her back on her family and stayed on earth among the humans with her beloved, with her new husband. Well, after all, there's other young girls leading happy lives here, so why shouldn't I, she thought. Well, each day, as the sun rose in the sky and her husband showered his young bride with soft words, but one day he forgot, and the daughter of the sun was so upset. But her husband laughed and apologised and was forgiven. But as the days passed, so her husband forgot more and more, until one day, when the sun was hidden by dark rolling clouds, he forgot her completely. She tried to catch his gaze, and she even told him that she rarely ever saw him anymore, and they barely spent time together, and how much she missed him. But he laughed. He laughed at her. A tear rolled down her silken cheek and fell unnoticed to the ground. Had he already fallen out of love with her? She choked with pain as she asked him this, but her voice was a whisper in the wind, and it was lost before it ever reached his ears. The young girl wiped her wet cheeks, ignoring the tears slipping into the dry ground. No words of comfort left his lips. His face, it grew even longer, or perhaps it was just a shadow creeping over the sky, over her life, over her heart. No words left her lips either, but 1,000 words streamed through her mind, mostly of how her father always did everything in his power to keep her and her sisters so happy, and how laughter was the main sound in her father's home, and how happy she had been. Things were different on earth. Life was different. Love was different. How she missed her father, her family, and the simple life they shared, and how she cried and cried for her loss. The young girl turned and she looked up towards the sun. She forgot her pride. She forgot her earthly love, and instead she crept unnoticed over the hills towards her father's kingdom. No one noticed her leaving, not even her husband. But the closer she got, the straighter she stood, and the happier she felt, until the sun said no. He wouldn't take his daughter back. He couldn't take his daughter back. Couldn't she see? Look down, he said, look down. For she had grown roots to the earth, roots she had nursed with her pain and fed with her tears. And so the sun's daughter remained rooted in the earth, neither willing to return to her husband's barren home, nor able to join her father's celestial kingdom, forgotten by the other girls, but always looking up through the rain and the hail and through the wind, and following her father every day on his journey across the sky with her eyes, and forever turning her face towards the sun, hoping that one day, just one day, she could return to her father's home. If only she was patient. One day. After all, she was his daughter, the flower of the sun, the sunflower who came to the earth.
Off with a modern Cornish song. There are two enduring themes in folk music, sex and drinking. And this is about the important one, the drinking. It's funny how we all remember warm and sunny skies. The images, they run together right before my eyes. But in the meantime, I think I'll just settle down here, drink some good old apple wine. I've seen lean times, good times, I couldn't care, I leave them all behind. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Our good forefathers spent their time in following the plough. But everything we want it here and we want it now. But in the meantime, I think I'll just settle down here, drink some good old apple wine. I've seen lean times, good times, I couldn't care, I leave them all behind. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. The seasons, they grow old, they will not wait for anyone. But we'll watch and see the corn grow golden in the sun. But in the meantime, I think I'll just settle down here, drink some good old apple wine. I've seen lean times, good times, I couldn't care, I leave them all behind. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. It's funny how we all remember warm and sunny skies. The images, they run together right before my eyes. But in the meantime, I think I'll just settle down here, drink some good old apple wine. I've seen lean times, good times, I couldn't care, I leave them all behind. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. Ooh, high in the air, on good old apple wine. We got a cat was just about to jump on my lap as the song was finishing.
That was a song we heard from Brenda Wooten, who was very, very good singer down in Cornwall.
Yep.
We'd like to finish our set here with a very, very old song that everybody knows all over the world. And it's from a Burns song, and he wrote it in 1788 as a poem, and then he got it published in 1799 as with a tune, original tune, his favourite tune. And we'd like to sing that for you before we pass back to Anne.
You'll know the song, but it's the tune you possibly don't know.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and auld lang syne? For auld lang syne, my Jo, for auld lang syne, we'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne. For surely you'll be your pint stoop, and surely I'll be mine. We'll tak a recht goodwill they walked for auld lang syne. For auld lang syne, my Joe, for auld lang syne. We'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne. We twa hae played aboot the braes and put the gowans fine, but we've wandered mony's a weary fit sin auld lang syne. For auld lang syne, my Joe, for auld lang syne. We'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne. We twa hae paddled in the burn be morning sun till dine, but the seas between us baith they roared sin auld lang syne. For auld lang syne, my Joe, for auld lang syne. We'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne. So here's a hand, my trusty friend, and gie's a hand o' thine. We'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne. For auld lang syne, my Joe, for auld lang syne. We'll tak a cup o' kindness yet for auld lang syne.
With one song, and it's the song when I was talking about this with Mary, she said you've got to sing this song and it should really be the theme note, and it ties in with what Daria was saying about you can't be identified with your government. And when I was 17 years old, I paid my first visit to Germany, and I went to, one of the things I did was I went to Cologne Cathedral and saw, some of you will have seen, I've put it on my Facebook page, there is a statue which is called the Hovering, and it's a black angel. And it just brought me to tears when I was 17. And I wrote this song then, and I have sung it since. And we can't do it as a chorus song because you're not all there. We can't all hear each other. But if you know any of this and you want to sing along, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for contributing and making this little daft idea of mine come into reality. And as I've said in the notes, there will be another one on the 3rd of April, but it'll be a much smaller affair, I'm quite sure. But it will still be a chance for me to celebrate my birthday with the people I love best, the other singers and so on. Anyway, here we are, the quiet people. And the evening shadows swoop and fall and lengthen, and we hear the sound of a church bell ringing, and we pass a statue, a black angel flying, and beneath it written, names and dates of dying. Oh, your father hated mine, and my father killed yours, in the time-honored fashion of all our time-outdated wars. For politicians never learn, and commanders soon forget, that a country is more than the men in their government. And the history books make sure that traditions last and last, so that we never can forget any injury done in the past. So the quiet people believe that wars can never end, without knowing that if they linked hands, they could make the world a friend. So now I'll sing no anthems for death and glory, and I'll stand beneath no flag shout no cheers for victory. But I vow that I will live my life in harmony and teach my children's children to love my father's enemy. So now I'll sing no anthems for death and glory, and I'll stand beneath no flag, shout no cheers for victory. But I vow that I will live my life in harmony and teach my children's children to love my father's enemy. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for everything you've all done this evening. Thank you.